Captain Ji-won Kim stared at the screens in front of her, barely believing what she was seeing. The massive alien ship hung in space like a floating city, its surface covered in lights that pulsed with colors she had never seen before. Her hands trembled slightly as she pressed the communication button on her console. This was it. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. "Watchtower 7 to unknown vessel," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "This is Captain Ji-won Kim of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. We receive your signal. Welcome to our system." The response came immediately, translated into perfect Korean by technology far beyond anything humans possessed. The voice was smooth and measured, belonging to something calling itself Counselor Velther. "Greetings, Captain Kim. We are representatives of the Galactic Federation, a union of 847 species spanning this region of space. We come in peace and friendship to welcome humanity into the greater cosmic community." Within hours, a shuttle arrived at the station carrying the alien delegation. Ji-won watched through the airlock window as the creatures emerged. Velther was tall and covered in scales that shimmered like oil on water. Two others accompanied him, equally strange and wonderful. Dr. Myray Park stood beside Ji-won, her tablet ready to record everything. As Earth's leading expert in theoretical alien communication, Myray had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. The meeting room had been hastily prepared with chairs that hopefully would accommodate different body types. Velther seemed comfortable enough, his large eyes studying the humans with what might have been curiosity or amusement. It was impossible to tell. "We have observed your species for some time," Velther began, his translated words filling the room. "You have achieved fusion power, established colonies on nearby worlds, and demonstrated the mathematical understanding necessary for faster-than-light travel. These achievements mark you as ready for contact." Myray leaned forward, fascinated. "How long have you been watching us?" "Approximately 200 of your years. We have protocols for first contact. Species must reach certain developmental milestones before we introduce ourselves. You have reached those milestones." Ji-won felt a chill run down her spine. 200 years of being watched, studied like insects under glass. She pushed the feeling aside. "What happens now?" Velther made a gesture that might have been a smile. "Now we offer you what every species receives upon contact. Membership in the Galactic Federation. The benefits are substantial. Access to established trade routes spanning thousands of worlds. Protection under galactic law, which has maintained peace for over 40,000 years. Medical technology that will extend your lifespans by centuries. Scientific knowledge that will advance your civilization by millennia. Manufacturing techniques that will eliminate poverty and scarcity. And most importantly, faster-than-light travel technology that actually works, allowing you to join the greater community." The offer sounded incredible. Too incredible. Ji-won exchanged glances with Myray, seeing her own suspicion reflected there. "What would membership require from us?" Ji-won asked carefully. Velther produced a data device that projected glowing text into the air. "The standard junior partnership agreement. You would be assigned trade quotas to ensure fair distribution of resources. Your technological development would be guided by senior species to prevent dangerous mistakes. Your expansion into space would follow established territorial agreements, and you would accept Federation observers to help your government transition to galactic standards." Murray's fingers flew across her tablet, recording every word. "Guided development. Observers. That sounds like you would control our civilization." "Not control," Velther said, his tone suggesting he had explained this many times before. "Guidance. Younger species often make catastrophic errors without proper supervision. We have the wisdom of millions of years. Why would you refuse such help?" Because it's not help if we lose our independence, Jiwan said quietly. Velther's scales rippled in what might have been confusion. Independence is an outdated concept. The galaxy functions through cooperation and integration. Every species that joins the Federation prospers. Every species that refuses eventually fails and begs for admission anyway. Why delay the inevitable? The meeting continued for hours. The aliens presented detailed proposals, statistics, testimonials from dozens of species praising Federation membership. They showed images of paradise worlds where poverty and war were ancient memories. They offered everything except what Jiwan realized humans would never accept, the right to make their own mistakes. After the delegation departed, Jiwan sent an immediate report to Earth. The data was reviewed by thousands of experts, debated in every government on the planet, analyzed from every possible angle. Ambassador Haiyan Lai was appointed as Earth's official representative to handle the Federation's offer. 3 days later, Ambassador Haiyan arrived at Watchtower 7 with Earth's unified response. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, carrying the weight of speaking for the entire human species. Jiwan and Myray joined him in the communication room as he opened a channel to the Federation ship. Velther's face appeared on the screen, radiating confidence. Ambassador Lee, we are pleased you have reached out so quickly. Most species accept within hours, once they understand the benefits. I assume you are ready to formalize your membership? Haiyan's expression remained neutral. Counselor Velther, humanity has carefully considered your generous offer. We have reviewed all materials provided and consulted with our finest minds. After thorough deliberation, I must inform you that we respectfully decline membership in the Galactic Federation. The silence that followed was absolute. Velther's scales went completely still. I do not understand. Perhaps the translation is incorrect? Dr. Park, please confirm. Myray spoke clearly. The translation is perfect. Humanity declines your offer. But that is impossible, Velther said, and for the first time his voice carried emotion. Confusion. No species refuses the Federation. Not in 40,000 years. Not once. You must misunderstand the benefits. We understand perfectly, Haiyan said calmly. You offer us technology, prosperity, and peace. In exchange, you would guide our development, observe our government, control our expansion, and integrate us into your system. We would become a junior partner in a relationship where you hold all the power. That is not a partnership. That is subordination. You speak of subordination, Velther said, his scales now rippling rapidly. We speak of mentorship, of preventing you from the mistakes that destroy civilizations. Do you have any idea how dangerous the galaxy is for unguided species? We're aware of the dangers, Haiyan replied. We choose to face them on our own terms. Humanity will develop at our own pace, make our own decisions, and yes, make our own mistakes. When we eventually join the galactic community, it will be as equals, not as children requiring supervision. Velther's image leaned closer to the screen. You will regret this decision. Within a generation, you will face challenges you cannot overcome. You will lose people to diseases we could cure. You will struggle with technology we could provide. You will watch your civilization advance at a crawl while the galaxy moved forward without you. And then you will come to us begging for what you refuse today. Perhaps, Haiyan said, or perhaps we will surprise you. Either way, it will be our choice. The transmission ended. Velther's ship departed the solar system within the hour, leaving humanity alone once more. In the observation deck, Jiwan stood beside Myray, watching the alien vessel vanish into faster-than-light travel. Do you think we made the right choice? Myray asked softly. G1 considered the question. Somewhere below them, Earth continued spinning, home to billions of humans who would now face the galaxy without alien help. It would be harder, slower, more dangerous. But it would be theirs. I think we made the only choice we could live with, Iwan finally said. They'll be back or others will come. The galaxy knows about us now. But at least we'll face whatever comes as ourselves, not as someone's junior partners. My Ray nodded slowly. The Federation won't understand. To them, we just refused paradise. Let them not understand, Jiwan said. We'll show them what humans can do when we refuse to be anything less than free. Far away, in the depths of space, the Federation ship carried news of humanity's impossible decision. Across 847 species, the message spread like wildfire. A new species had been contacted, and for the first time in recorded history, they had said no. 2 years had passed since humanity rejected the Galactic Federation, and Earth had not been idle. Deep in the asteroid belt, massive mining operations pulled precious metals from ancient rocks. Engineers worked around the clock, building new ships, new stations, new colonies. And in a secret facility orbiting Mars, a young Choi stood in front of his life's work. The FTL drive was not beautiful. It was a mess of cables, cooling systems, and components that barely fit together. Compared to the elegant alien technology the Federation had offered, it looked like a child's toy. But it was human. Every part designed by human minds, built by human hands, powered by human determination. Ready for the test? Asked his assistant, checking the readings on her display. Doyon nodded, his heart pounding. They had run simulations thousands of times. The math worked. The theory was sound. But this would be the first real test with an actual probe. If it failed, years of work would be wasted. If it succeeded, humanity would have taken its first real step toward the stars. Launch the probe, he ordered. The small device shot away from the station, its engines burning bright. At a safe distance, it activated the experimental drive. Space seemed to twist, and then the probe simply vanished. Doyon held his breath, counting seconds. The probe was programmed to jump exactly 1 light-year away, and immediately return. 15 seconds passed. 20. 30. Had something gone wrong? Then space twisted again, and the probe reappeared, its transmitter already sending data. Doyon read the results, his hands shaking. The probe had traveled 1 light-year in 30 seconds. It had worked. Humanity now had faster-than-light travel. The celebration in the facility lasted for hours. But Doyon knew this was just the beginning. The human drive was slow compared to galactic technology. It was expensive. It was unreliable. But it proved something important. Humans could solve the puzzle themselves. 3 months later, a different kind of ship arrived in Earth's orbit. This one belonged to the Consortium of Free Worlds, a massive organization of independent traders and merchant empires. Trade Minister Soman Yoon received the delegation in Earth's orbital headquarters, a space station that now served as humanity's center for foreign relations. The leader of this delegation called himself Merchant Prince Kixler, a creature that looked like a combination of an octopus and a jeweled insect. His species had earned enormous wealth through clever trading, and his personal fortune could buy entire planets. Minister Yoon, Kixler said through his translator, his many limbs gesturing expressively. I bring congratulations from the consortium. We were most impressed by your rejection of the Federation's insulting offer. Junior partnership indeed. As if any proud species would accept such terms. Soman smiled politely, though she remained cautious. Thank you, Merchant Prince. Though I suspect you're not here simply to congratulate us. Kixler made a sound that might have been laughter. Indeed not. I am here with a much better offer. The Consortium of Free Worlds believes in true partnership based on mutual profit. We have no interest in controlling your development or observing your government. We simply wish to trade. Over the next week, Kixler and his team presented their proposal. It seemed far more reasonable than the Federation's demands. The consortium wanted to establish trade agreements, selling humanity advanced materials and buying human goods in return. They offered manufacturing contracts that would bring wealth to Earth. They proposed economic partnerships that would benefit both sides. Summon's team worked day and night analyzing the proposal. The economists were excited. The business leaders were eager. Access to galactic markets would make Earth rich almost overnight. But Soman had learned to look deeper than surface promises. She called her top analyst into her private office. "Show me the hidden clauses again," she said. The analyst pulled up the documents, highlighting sections buried in technical language. "Here, Minister. The consortium wants exclusive rights to all human cultural exports. Music, art, literature, entertainment. Anything created by humans would belong to them for distribution. And here," another analyst added, pointing to a different section, "they want monopoly rights on resource extraction in human space. Every asteroid, every moon, every planet we discover would be theirs to mine, with us receiving only a small percentage." Soman felt her stomach tighten. What about the arbitration clause? All disputes would be settled in consortium courts, using consortium law. We would have no real voice in decisions affecting our own economy. The next morning, Soman met with Doyon Choi. She needed his perspective before making her recommendation to Earth's government. "They're offering us the easy path," Doyon said, understanding immediately. "Advanced materials, established markets, instant wealth. But in 20 years, we'd be completely dependent on them. In 50 years, we'd be working for them. Can we really afford to refuse?" Soman asked. "Our economy is struggling. People are making sacrifices. The consortium's offer would end all of that." Doyon walked to the window, looking down at Earth far below. 2 months ago, we successfully tested our FTL drive. It's primitive compared to galactic technology. It's slow and expensive, but it's ours. If we accept the consortium's materials and manufacturing, we'll stop developing our own. Why struggle with difficult research when you can buy the solution? And then we'd be trapped, Soman finished. Exactly. The Federation wanted to control our politics. The consortium wants to control our economy. Different methods, same result. We'd stop being independent and become part of their system. Soman made her decision. She called for a formal negotiation session with Kixler. A merchant prince arrived confident, clearly expecting Earth's acceptance. His team had prepared elaborate ceremonies to celebrate the new partnership. Soman hated what she had to do next. "Merchant Prince Kixler," she began formally. "Humanity has carefully reviewed your proposal. We appreciate the consortium's interest in trading with us. However, we must decline your current offer." Kixler asked, many eyes focused on her with sudden intensity. "Decline? But Minister Yoon, our terms are far superior to anything the Federation offered. We demand nothing but fair trade." "Your terms appear fair on the surface," Soman agreed. "But buried in the details, we found clauses that would make us economically dependent on the consortium. Exclusive rights, monopolies, binding arbitration in your courts. These are not terms between equals." "You are not our equals," Kixler said, his pleasant tone vanishing. "Not yet. Your economy is primitive. Your technology is basic. We offer you a bridge to prosperity, and you refuse it out of pride?" "Not pride," Soman said calmly. "Pragmatism. We're willing to trade with you, Merchant Prince. We're willing to buy your materials and sell you our goods, but only under terms that treat us as equal partners, not as your resource colony." Kixler as limbs writhed in agitation. "Equal partners? You have nothing we need. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your resources can be found on a million other worlds. The only thing you possess of any value is your uniqueness, your culture, your novelty. And that novelty will fade quickly. Perhaps, Soman said, but it's ours to offer or withhold as we choose. When we're ready to trade our culture, we'll do so on our terms. When we extract resources from our space, we'll control that process. And when we need arbitration, we'll insist on neutral courts, not yours. You're making a terrible mistake, Kixler warned. The galaxy does not wait for proud species to catch up. You'll be left behind, struggling alone while the rest of civilization prospers together. Then we'll struggle alone, Soman replied. We'd rather advance slowly on our own feet than quickly on our knees. The consortium delegation departed that afternoon, their elaborate ceremonies canceled. Kixler sent one final message before leaving Earth's orbit. The consortium will remember this insult. When you come begging for our help, and you will, do not expect such generous terms again. That evening, Soman met with Doyun at an observation deck overlooking Earth. Down below, billions of humans went about their lives, unaware of what had been refused on their behalf. They'll be angry when they learn we turned down wealth and prosperity, Soman said quietly. Some will be, Doyun agreed, but others will understand. We didn't turn down wealth. We turned down slavery, dressed as partnership. There's a difference. The consortium will spread word across the galaxy. 2 offers refused. Species will start asking questions about us. Let them ask, Doyun said. Maybe they'll start asking questions about themselves, too. How many species accepted these offers without reading the fine print? How many traded their independence for convenience and comfort? Soman nodded slowly. The Federation thought we were foolish for refusing political control. The consortium thinks we're suicidal for refusing economic integration. I wonder what they'll offer next. Whatever it is, Doyun said, looking up at the stars, we'll evaluate it carefully. And if it costs us our independence, we'll refuse it too. Far above them, in the cold depths of space, alien merchants carried news of humanity's second impossible refusal. Across the trading networks of 1,000 worlds, the story spread. The humans had done it again. They had been offered wealth and prosperity, and they had said no dot in government chambers and corporate boardrooms across the galaxy. Beings began to wonder, what did these humans want? What could possibly be offered that they would accept? And more disturbingly, what did it say about galactic civilization that these newcomers kept refusing everything the cosmos considered valuable? The questions had no answers yet, but they were being asked. And that alone was something new in a galaxy that had not asked. New questions in a very long time. 5 years had transformed humanity's presence in space. 3 new colonies thrived on distant worlds, connected by the improved human FTL drives that Doyun's team continued to refine. The drives were still slower than galactic standard, but they worked, and they were getting better with each generation. Ed. Myral Taeyang Nam commanded Earth's United Defense Fleet from the bridge of the battleship Sol, humanity's first true warship designed for deep space combat. The ship was not impressive by galactic standards. Its weapons were primitive railguns and missiles rather than energy beams. Its armor was simple steel alloy rather than exotic materials. But it represented something important: humanity's determination to defend itself. That determination was about to be tested. The alert came through on a quiet morning shift. Unknown vessels had been detected near the colony world of New Sol, moving with clear hostile intent. By the time Admiral Nam reached the bridge, his communications officer had identified the ships. "They're Krell, Admiral," the officer reported, her voice tight with tension. 3 warships, heavy class. They're broadcasting on open channels, claiming New Sol is within their expansion zone. Nam felt his jaw clench. The Krell Empire was infamous across the galaxy. They were conquerors, brutal and efficient, who had subjugated dozens of species. Their technology was advanced, their military powerful, and their appetite for new territory endless. "Send to all ships," Nam ordered. "Battle stations. And get me a channel to the Krell commander." The face that appeared on the screen was nightmarish, all chitinous plates and multiple eyes that gleamed with predatory intelligence. War Marshal Drake Thule of the Krell Empire studied Nam with visible contempt. "Human," Drake Thule said, the translator rendering his clicks and hisses into Korean. "You will evacuate your colony within 1 rotation of your planet. This system falls within Krell territorial claims. Resistance will result in destruction." "This system belongs to humanity," Nam replied, keeping his voice steady despite his racing heart. "We have colonized it, we have defended it, and we will not surrender it." Drake Thule made a sound like grinding metal. "You speak bravely for a species whose ships are little more than metal boxes with engines. We have fought and defeated civilizations 1,000 years older than yours. Leave now or be destroyed." The transmission ended. Nam looked at his tactical officer. "Analysis? Their ships outgun us 3-1, Admiral. Their shields can probably withstand everything we have. Their weapons could cut through our armor like paper. If they engage, we'll last maybe 10 minutes. Then we'll make those 10 minutes count," Nam said. "All ships prepare for combat. And someone get me Colonel Yoonji Han." Colonel Han commanded Earth's Special Operations Forces, and her reputation for unconventional thinking had earned her both admirers and critics. She arrived at the bridge within minutes, already studying the tactical display. "We can't win a straight fight," she said immediately. "So we won't fight straight." "Explain," Nam ordered. Yoonji pointed at the Krell formation. "They're moving in standard battle formation because they've never had to do anything else. Every species they've fought has tried to match them ship to ship, gun to gun. They always win that way." She looked up at Nam, her eyes bright with dangerous ideas. "But what if we don't play their game?" Over the next 6 hours, Yoonji and Nam developed a strategy that would have horrified any traditional military academy. It involved using mining charges as improvised mines, positioning civilian transports as decoys, and exploiting the asteroid field that the Krell were confidently flying through. When the Krell attacked, expecting a conventional battle, they instead encountered chaos. Human ships scattered like frightened prey, refusing to engage directly. The Krell pursued, and that's when the mining charges detonated, not to destroy the Krell ships, but to shift asteroids into their path. While the Krell dealt with the obstacles, human ships struck from unexpected angles, targeting specific systems rather than trying to penetrate heavy armor. The battle lasted 3 hours and resulted in 1 Krell ship disabled and the others withdrawing to reassess. It was not a decisive victory, but it was enough. The Krell had expected an easy conquest and encountered something they rarely faced, an enemy who refused to fight on their terms. 2 days later, another delegation arrived. This time it was Ambassador Lyrasin of the Defensive Alliance of Free Species, a coalition formed specifically to resist Krell expansion. "Admiral Nam," Lyrasin began, her crystalline features reflecting the lights of the conference room. "Your defensive new soul has impressed many. The Defensive Alliance wishes to offer humanity membership and protection." Nam listened carefully as Lyrasin outlined the proposal. The Alliance had held the Krell at bay for centuries through unified military command. They offered humanity advanced weapons technology, strategic support, and most importantly, the guarantee that Krell attacks would be met by the combined might of dozens of species. What would membership require? Nam asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Integration of your forces into Alliance command structure," Lyrasin explained. "Alliance fleet stations in your space for rapid response. coordination of all military decisions through Alliance headquarters, and acceptance of Alliance military advisors to help modernize your forces. Colonel Yunji, sitting beside Nam, spoke up. In other words, you would command our military. We would coordinate a unified defense, Lyrasin corrected. The Krell are powerful, Admiral. They will return, and next time with greater forces. Alone, humanity cannot survive. With the Alliance, you would be safe. Nam studied the documents Lyrasin provided. The offer was detailed, professional, and completely unacceptable. Ambassador, I have a counter-proposal. A mutual defense pact where we maintain independent command of our forces, but agree to assist each other when called upon. Lyrasin's crystalline face somehow conveyed regret. That arrangement is not possible. Effective defense requires unified command. We cannot have different species using different tactics, different communications, different strategies. The Krell exploit any weakness, any lack of coordination. We've learned this through bitter experience. We also learned something through experience, Yunji said. We learned that unconventional tactics can work against superior technology. If we integrate into your command, we lose that advantage. We become just another unit fighting the way everyone else fights. Your tactics worked once, Lyrasin said gently. The Krell learn quickly. They will adapt, and next time your improvisation will fail. This is not a criticism, Colonel. It is simply reality. You need the Alliance's protection. The negotiations continued for 3 days. The Alliance was genuinely trying to help, Nam realized. They had fought the Krell for so long that they knew every danger, every pitfall, every mistake that species made. But their solution was the same one the galaxy always offered: surrender independence in exchange for safety. On the final day, Nam delivered humanity's answer. Ambassador Lyrasin, we appreciate the Alliance's concern for our safety. We understand the Krell threat, but we must decline your offer of membership. Lyrasin's crystalline form seemed to darken. Admiral, please reconsider. The Krell will not stop. They will send more ships, better commanders, larger fleets. Without Alliance protection, your colonies will fall. Your people will be enslaved or worse. Perhaps, Nam acknowledged, but they will fall while we're fighting our own way, making our own decisions, taking our own risks. We will not trade our military independence for promised safety. This is not pride, Lyrasin said, her voice rising with frustration. This is suicide. Do you understand what the Krell do to species they conquer? Do you understand the suffering you're condemning your people to? We understand, Nam said quietly. And we choose to face that possibility as free beings rather than live as protected subordinates. If the Alliance wishes to establish a mutual defense pact where we coordinate but maintain independence, we will gladly sign it. Otherwise, we will defend ourselves alone. Unacceptable, Lyrasin said. A proper defense requires unified command. I cannot in good conscience offer a weaker agreement when I know it will result in human deaths. Then we're at an impasse, Nam said. Lyrasin stood, gathering her materials. The Alliance will not offer this again, Admiral. When the Krell return, and they will return, do not expect our help. We cannot protect those who refuse protection. After she left, Colonel Yunji looked at Na with concern. She's right about one thing. The Krell will be back. We got lucky once. We might not be lucky again. Then we'll need to be smart instead of lucky, Nam replied. Start working on new tactics. Study everything we learned from the first engagement. Find weaknesses we can exploit. And if that's not enough, Nam looked out at the stars, where somewhere the Krell Empire was indeed planning their return. Then we'll lose while fighting our own way. I'd rather die free and live under someone else's command, even if they mean well. News of humanity's third rejection spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Federation had been refused. The Consortium had been refused. Now the Defensive Alliance had been refused. Species across the cosmos struggled to understand. The humans had rejected political integration, economic partnership, and military protection. What did they want? In the Krell Imperial Court, War Marshal Drek Thule studied the reports of humanity's refusal with interest. A species that would rather fight alone than accept help. A species that used tactics no one expected. A species that valued independence more than survival. Interesting, he said to his subordinates. These humans might actually be worth conquering. But deep in a secret facility, Colonel Yunji and her team were already preparing for the Krell's return. They studied every scrap of data from the first battle. They developed new tactics, stranger and more unconventional than before. They prepared traps and tricks that no traditional military mind would even consider. The galaxy thought humanity was being foolish. The galaxy thought humanity would soon beg for help. The galaxy had never encountered beings quite like humans before, who saw impossible odds not as a reason to surrender, but as a challenge to overcome. Admiral Nam stood on the bridge of the Soul, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, enemies were coming, but they would find humanity ready, fighting on human terms, free and unbowed. Let them come, he said quietly. We'll show them what free beings can do. 8 years after first contact, humanity had proven something remarkable. The second Krell attack had come as predicted, with greater forces and better preparation. But Colonel Yunji's unconventional tactics had worked again. This time using coordinated drone swarms that confused Krell targeting systems and surprise. Attacks from directions the Krell considered impossible. The Krell had withdrawn, not defeated but frustrated, and had not returned since. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity's stubborn independence was backed by genuine capability. In a small studio on Earth, artist Ji-Hoon Kong worked on his latest piece. Unaware that he had become famous across alien worlds he had never visited, his sculptures combined traditional Korean aesthetics with futuristic themes, creating art that somehow resonated with beings who had never even seen a human before. Through illegal file-sharing networks and underground cultural exchanges, Ji-Hoon's work had spread to dozens of species. Professor Subin Oh had been tracking this phenomenon with fascination. As Earth's leading anthropologist and cultural theorist, she understood something important was happening. Human art, music, literature, and entertainment were seeping into galactic culture despite Earth's isolation. There was something about human creativity that aliens found compelling, perhaps because it came from a species that had developed independently rather than being absorbed into galactic norms. When the delegation from the Galactic Cultural Preservation Society arrived, Subin was not surprised. She met them at Earth's Cultural Heritage Foundation, a building designed to showcase humanity's artistic achievements. Director Minseo Shin joined her, along with Ji-Hoon himself, who was nervous about meeting aliens who apparently admired his work. High Curator Zin Thara was elegant and refined, her species having evolved on a high-gravity world, giving her a compact but powerful form. She moved through the museum with genuine appreciation, studying human paintings, sculptures, and historical artifacts with careful attention. Remarkable, she said, her translator conveying warm enthusiasm. Your species has developed such rich cultural diversity in relative isolation. Do you realize how unique this is? Most species who join galactic civilization early lose much of their cultural distinctiveness within a few generations. Why is that? Subin asked, though she had theories. When species gain access to millions of years of accumulated art and entertainment from across the galaxy, their own cultural development often stagnates, Zinthara explained. Why struggle to create something new when you can access the masterworks of 1,000 civilizations? This is one reason the Society exists, to preserve what might otherwise be lost. Over the next several days, Zinthara and her team presented their proposal. The Galactic Cultural Preservation Society wanted to catalog, preserve, and share human culture across the galaxy. They offered humanity prestigious positions in the galactic arts community. Universal translation of human literature and entertainment, sponsored exhibitions of human art, an integration of human history into galactic archives. Unlike previous offers, this one seemed genuinely respectful. The Society emphasized partnership and celebration rather than control. They showed examples of how they had worked with other species, helping preserve traditions and art forms that might have been lost. Ji-hoon was particularly moved. They're offering to share my work with billions of beings across the galaxy. As an artist, how can I refuse that? This is what every creator dreams of, an audience that truly appreciates your work. I understand the appeal, Director Minseo said carefully. But we need to examine the details before making any decisions. Sabin's research team spent weeks analyzing the Society's proposal and studying examples of their work with other species. What they found was troubling, though not obviously malicious. In a private meeting, Subin presented her findings to Minseo and Ji-hoon. The Society's standard preservation protocols include what they call contextual adjustments for alien sensibilities. They curate which aspects of a culture receive promotion and which are deemed unsuitable for universal audiences. Unsuitable how? Ji-hoon asked. It varies, Subin explained, pulling up examples. For the Velth species, the Society decided their traditional war dances were too violent for galactic audiences. For the Quiln, certain religious practices were considered too strange to present without extensive explanation. The Society doesn't censor exactly, but they guide cultural presentation in ways that make everything more palatable to galactic norms. Minseo leaned forward. What happens to the unpresented aspects? They're archived, but not shared. Over time, even the originating species begin to emphasize the aspects that receive galactic attention and de-emphasize the parts deemed unsuitable. Cultural development becomes influenced by outside expectations rather than internal evolution. Ji-hoon looked troubled. So they wouldn't ban my art, but they might suggest I make it more accessible to alien audiences? Change certain elements to be less specifically human and more universally appealing? Exactly, Subin said. And here's the deeper problem. I've studied what happened to species who accepted the Society's partnership. Within 2 generations, their artists were creating primarily for galactic audiences. Their music became fusion styles mixing elements from dozens of cultures. Their stories started following narrative structures that worked across species rather than culturally specific forms. They became part of a universal galactic culture rather than maintaining their unique identity. Is that necessarily bad? Ji-hoon asked. Isn't cultural exchange and fusion natural? When it's voluntary and organic, yes, Subin replied. But when it's guided by an external organization, deciding what's suitable for presentation, it becomes something else. The Society wouldn't control our culture directly, but they would shape it through the power of providing or withholding galactic attention. Minseo made the decision to investigate further. She contacted several species who had worked with the Society and asked about their experiences. The responses were illuminating. Every species praised the Society's professionalism and respect. Every species was grateful for the galactic attention. But when asked about their contemporary cultural development, something troubling emerged. One elderly Velf artist spoke candidly. Before the Society, our art was wild, sometimes disturbing, deeply rooted in our specific history and psychology. Now our most celebrated artists create works that any species can appreciate. We're famous across the galaxy. But I sometimes wonder if we've lost something. Our young artists study galactic aesthetics more than traditional Velth forms. Is that progress or surrender? Armed with this research, Minseo called a meeting with Earth's government and cultural leaders. Ji-hoon presented the artist's perspective, explaining both the appeal and the dangers. Subin provided her anthropological analysis, and Min Sayel laid out the fundamental question. The society offers us galactic recognition, which could benefit human artists tremendously. But accepting their partnership means accepting their guidance on cultural presentation. Over time, that guidance would shape not just how we present our culture, but how we develop it. Are we willing to risk that? The debate lasted for weeks. Artists were divided. Some, like Ji-hoon, wanted the opportunity to reach a galactic audience. Others feared losing authentic human expression. Cultural leaders worried about outside influence on human creativity. Politicians saw both opportunities and dangers. Finally, Minseo requested a formal meeting with High Curator Zin Thara to deliver Earth's decision. The curator arrived confident, clearly expecting acceptance. After all, the Society's offer was considered the most benign form of galactic integration, focused on celebration rather than control. High Curator, Minseo began, humanity has carefully considered the Cultural Preservation Society's generous offer. We're honored by your interest in our culture and grateful for your appreciation of our arts. However, we must respectfully decline partnership with the Society. Zin Thara's posture shifted, showing genuine shock. I don't understand. We offer only to share your culture, to celebrate your uniqueness. There is no control, no oversight, no loss of sovereignty. Why refuse? Because cultural preservation, as you practice it, is not truly preservation, Minseo explained. You guide cultural presentation through your decisions about what's suitable for galactic audiences. Over time, that guidance shapes cultural development itself. Artists begin creating for galactic approval rather than authentic expression. Culture becomes performance for outsiders rather than organic evolution. We only seek to help cultures present themselves in the best light, Zin Thara protested. Some cultural elements require context to be properly understood. Some might be misinterpreted or cause offense without careful presentation. We don't censor. We curate. And that curation, however well-intentioned, changes what we are, Minseo said. Our culture is not a museum exhibit to be carefully presented. It's living, evolving, and ours to share on our own terms. Yes, some elements might be misunderstood by alien audiences. Some might even cause offense. But that's part of being authentically ourselves. Ji-hoon spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of personal struggle. I want galactic audiences to see my work. I dream of it. But I want them to see my actual work, created for human sensibilities, expressing human experiences, succeeding or failing on its own merits. If I start creating for galactic approval, I stop being a human artist and become a galactic entertainer. There's a difference. Zin Thara made a gesture of deep confusion. But this makes no sense. We've offered you prestige, recognition, celebration. We ask nothing in return except the opportunity to share your culture with beings who would appreciate it. How is this threatening? Because you would control the sharing, Subin said. You would decide what's suitable, what needs contextual adjustment, what should be emphasized or de-emphasized. That control, however subtle, is still control, and it would shape us in ways we cannot accept. Then how will you introduce yourselves to the galaxy? Zin Thara asked, her voice rising with frustration. Do you expect billions of beings to study human context and psychology just to understand your art? Do you not see how that limits your cultural influence? Perhaps it does, Minseo acknowledged. But we'd rather have limited influence that's genuinely ours than broad influence that's been shaped by outside curation. We'll introduce ourselves to the galaxy when we're ready, on our terms, in our way. And if that means some beings misunderstand or find us strange, so be it. At least they'll be responding to real human culture, not a carefully curated version. The meeting ended with Zinthara departing in visible confusion and disappointment. Later, she transmitted a final message. The Society has worked with hundreds of species over thousands of years. Never have we encountered such resistance to simple cultural exchange. Your isolation is self-imposed and ultimately self-defeating. The galaxy will move on without you. That evening, Ji-hoon stood in his studio, looking at his current sculpture. It was strange, distinctly human, rooted in experiences and aesthetics that might not translate well to alien minds. Under the Society's partnership, he would have been encouraged to make it more accessible, more universal, more galactic. Instead, he would keep it exactly as it was. News of humanity's fourth rejection spread through the galaxy with increasing alarm. They had refused political integration, economic partnership, military protection, and now even cultural celebration. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. In government chambers across hundreds of worlds, leaders began asking uncomfortable questions. What did the humans see that everyone else had missed? Why did they keep refusing what the galaxy considered beneficial? And most disturbing of all, were they right to refuse? 12 years after first contact, humanity controlled 17 star systems. Their ships now traveled at respectable speeds, using drives that, while still behind galactic standards, were improving with each generation. Their colonies thrived, their economy grew steadily, and their military had earned grudging respect across the galaxy. Most importantly, they had achieved all of this independently, without accepting any of the offers the galaxy had made. Premier Yuna Huang sat in her office on Earth, reviewing reports from across human space. As the elected leader coordinating humanity's response to the cosmos, she carried a heavy responsibility. Every decision she made affected not just current generations, but the future trajectory of human civilization. Today's report was particularly interesting. The Galactic Federation had called an emergency summit to discuss what they were calling the human question. She smiled grimly. Humanity had become a question that needed answering. In a laboratory orbiting Mars, scientist Jun-Ho Park was celebrating a breakthrough that would have seemed impossible just years before. His team had solved a quantum mechanics problem that galactic science had deemed unsolvable. The conventional approach, used by every species in the Federation, hit a theoretical wall. Jun-Ho had approached it differently, using mathematical models that made sense to human minds, but seemed bizarre to alien physicists. When he published his results, the galactic scientific community erupted in controversy. Half insisted his math was wrong. The other half couldn't deny that his experiments produced results that worked. Within weeks, alien scientists were scrambling to understand how a species so young had leapfrogged past problems that had stumped civilization for millennia. The answer was troubling. Humanity hadn't been taught the right way to think about the problem. They had figured it out themselves, using uniquely human logic. Captain Daeon Song commanded Earth's newest deep space exploration vessel, the Horizon. Its mission was simple: explore beyond human space, map new systems, and search for resources. 3 months into the journey, her ship detected something unexpected: an ancient automated station drifting in deep space. Its power nearly depleted, but still functional. Daeon ordered the crew to investigate. What they found inside changed everything. The station was a data archive, millions of years old, created by a species whose name was lost to time. Its quantum storage had survived the ages, and its automatic systems still functioned. Using portable power units, Daeon's team managed to access the database. What they found was a history of the Galactic Federation that no living species remembered. Da-EUN contacted Earth immediately, transmitting everything they had found. Premier Yuna read through the ancient records with growing understanding and horror. The early Federation had been vibrant, dynamic, full of innovation and constant advancement. Species maintained their independence while cooperating on shared challenges. Scientific breakthroughs happened constantly. Cultural exchange was genuine and organic. But gradually, over hundreds of thousands of years, something changed. The integration protocols designed to help new species had slowly evolved into something else. The mentorship became dependency. The guidance became control. The celebration of diversity became homogenization. And worst of all, everyone had forgotten it was happening because it occurred so slowly that no living being remembered what had been lost. The Federation had created a stable, galactic civilization. But stability had come at a cost: stagnation. For the last 500,000 years, no genuinely revolutionary scientific breakthroughs had occurred. No new art forms had emerged. No radical innovations had disrupted the comfortable status quo. The galaxy had become a museum maintaining itself perfectly while forgetting how to grow. Premier Una realized why humanity's rejections had caused such confusion. The galaxy had forgotten what it meant to develop independently. They had forgotten the value of struggle, of making mistakes, of finding solutions through unique perspectives rather than following established patterns. She made a decision. It was time to stop simply reacting to galactic offers and start explaining humanity's position directly. Premier Una requested a formal session to address the Galactic Federation Council. Supreme Chancellor Tovrix, who had called the emergency summit, granted the request. Curious about what the humans would say, the Federation's council chamber was vast, designed to accommodate representatives from 847 species. Una's holographic image appeared before them all, transmitted from Earth through quantum communication. She could feel the weight of hundreds of alien gazes studying her. Supreme Chancellor, honored representatives, she began. I am Una Huang, speaking on behalf of humanity. I understand you've called this summit to discuss what you call the human question. Allow me to answer it. The chamber fell silent. Tovrix gestured for her to continue. Over the past 12 years, humanity has received 4 major offers from various galactic organizations. The Federation offered political integration. The Consortium offered economic partnership. The Defensive Alliance offered military protection. The Cultural Preservation Society offered cultural celebration. We refused all of them. You want to know why? Una paused, letting the question hang in the air. We rejected these offers not because we hate you, not because we're xenophobic, and not because we're foolishly proud. We rejected them because we saw what acceptance would cost. Each offer, however generous it seemed, would have made us dependent on others. Each would have channeled our development along established paths rather than letting us find our own way. Each would have integrated us into your system rather than letting us maintain our identity. A representative from the consortium spoke up. But integration is beneficial. Look at the prosperity we've achieved together. You've achieved stability, Una agreed. But at what cost? My science officer recently solved a problem your civilization deemed unsolvable. Not because humans are smarter than you, but because we approached it differently. We weren't taught the established methods, so we invented new ones. How many other problems might have been solved if species S maintained independent perspectives rather than adopting galactic norms? Murmurs spread through the chamber. Una continued before anyone could interrupt. One of my ship captains recently discovered an ancient database. It contained records of the early Federation, when species maintained independence while cooperating. That Federation was dynamic, innovative, constantly advancing. What happened? Supreme Chancellor Tovrix leaned forward, his expression grave. Continue. Your integration process, designed to help newcomers, gradually became a system that made everyone think alike. You homogenized yourselves into stability while losing the diversity that drove innovation. And it happened so slowly that you forgot what you'd lost. This is absurd, another representative protested. We advance constantly. Our technology improves every generation. You refine existing technology, Una countered. When was the last genuinely revolutionary breakthrough? Not an improvement on something that already existed, but something completely new? The database suggests it's been over 400,000 years. The silence that followed was deafening. Representatives looked at each other, trying to remember, realizing she might be right. Humanity rejected your offers because we saw ourselves in them. We saw what we would become. Another species following established paths, thinking established thoughts, creating established things. We would be safe, prosperous, and protected. We would also stop being uniquely human. Una took a breath before delivering her final statement. We're aware that our independence makes you uncomfortable. A species that refuses integration raises questions about the entire system. But perhaps those questions need to be asked. Perhaps the galaxy needs species who develop differently, who think differently, who refuse to conform. Not because conformity is evil, but because diversity drives evolution. And your civilization stopped evolving a long time ago. She gestured to the vast chamber around her. You've built something remarkable here. Hundreds of species cooperating in peace, poverty, and war eliminated, suffering minimized. These are tremendous achievements. But you've also created a system where everyone eventually becomes the same, where independent thought is gradually replaced by established wisdom, where innovation stops because everyone already knows the right answers. What do you propose? Tovrix asked quietly. Nothing, Una said, surprising them. We're not here to tell you how to run your civilization. We're simply explaining why we won't join it. We'll continue developing independently. We'll continue making our own mistakes and finding our own solutions. And maybe, eventually, we'll approach you as equals rather than as juniors requiring guidance. And if you fail? Someone asked. If your independence leads to disaster, then we'll fail as ourselves, Una replied. But we don't think we'll fail. And perhaps our example will help you remember something important. Growth requires struggle. Innovation requires independence, and evolution requires diversity. The transmission ended. Una sat back in her office on Earth, exhausted but satisfied. She had said what needed saying. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and dramatic. The speech was analyzed, debated, argued over on hundreds of worlds. Some species were outraged at the implied criticism. Others were defensive. But a significant number began asking uncomfortable questions. Several younger species, those who had joined the Federation within the last few centuries, began formally petitioning to renegotiate their membership terms. They wanted more independence, more freedom to develop uniquely. The Federation Council found itself facing internal pressure it hadn't experienced in millennia. The Consortium of Free Worlds restructured its trade agreements to allow truly equal partnerships, realizing that client relationships limited the innovation of their trading partners. The Defensive Alliance began experimenting with coordinated independence rather than unified command. Even the Krell Empire, which had withdrawn from human space after 2 frustrating engagements, sent an unexpected message to Premier Una, a proposal for a non-aggression pact between equals. War Marshal Drake Thull had gained respect for humanity's military capability and preferred them as neutral neighbors rather than potential enemies. On the old monitoring, Station Watchtower 7, now expanded into a major diplomatic facility, Dr. Myray Park watched the latest arrivals. A dozen different species had requested meetings with humanity, not to offer integration, but to ask questions. How did humans maintain independence? How did they foster innovation? What was their secret to developing so rapidly without guidance? Myray, now elderly but still sharp, smiled at the irony. The galaxy had spent 12 years trying to integrate humanity. Now they wanted to learn from humanity's refusal to integrate. A young diplomatic aide approached her. "Dr. Park, we have 3 more requests for meetings." "What should we tell them?" "Tell them we'll meet with any species willing to approach us as equals," Myray said. "No offers of integration, no guidance protocols, no mentorship arrangements. Just 2 civilizations talking honestly about our experiences." The aide nodded and hurried off. Myray turned back to the observation window, looking out at the stars. 12 years ago, she had stood here during first contact, wondering what it meant for humanity. Now she understood. Humanity hadn't changed the galaxy through conquest or superiority. They had changed it by being themselves, by refusing to be anything less than free, by showing that there was another way. The cosmos had panicked at humanity's rejections, fearing what it meant for their entire system. Now that panic was transforming into something more productive. Reflection, reform, and renewal. Far below, on Earth, Premier Una received a private message from Supreme Chancellor Tovrix. It was short but significant. "You were right. We had forgotten. Thank you for helping us remember. Perhaps someday we can build something better together." Una read the message twice, then filed it carefully. Someday, when humanity was ready, when they had grown into their full potential, they might join the galactic community. But they would join as equals, contributing their unique perspective to a cosmos that had finally remembered the value of diversity. Captain Daeun Song, continuing her exploration mission aboard the Horizon, discovered her 20th new star system. Each discovery expanded human knowledge and capability. Each challenge they faced and overcame made them stronger. They were doing it the hard way, the slow way, the independent way, but it was their way. And that made all the difference. Scientist Jun-Ho Park published another breakthrough, this one in FTL theory. His new approach could potentially improve drive efficiency by 40%. Alien scientists studied his work with fascination and frustration. Unable to understand how he kept finding solutions they had missed. The answer was simple. He wasn't following their rules. He was making his own. Artist Ji-Hoon Kang's latest sculpture was displayed in an underground gallery on an alien world, shared through unofficial channels by beings who appreciated authentic human creativity. It was strange, incomprehensible to many species, but utterly genuine. More importantly, it inspired alien artists to explore their own unique traditions rather than following galactic norms. Cultural revolution, like scientific revolution, had to start somewhere. Across the galaxy. Beings looked at humanity and saw something they had forgotten existed, a species choosing its own destiny, facing the cosmos alone but unbowed, refusing to compromise on freedom for any reward. It terrified some. It inspired others. But it made everyone think, and thinking, after 500,000 years of comfortable stagnation, was exactly what the galaxy needed. The human question had been answered. But in answering it, humanity had raised 1,000 new questions that would reshape galactic civilization for millennia to come. The cosmos had panicked at humanity's rejections. Now it was learning from them. Sometimes the most important thing you can say is no. And sometimes saying no changes everything.